Times have been tough for the economy in South Africa, and as incomes fall, it's become harder to make ends meet. That's why these people are protesting. They blame what they say is the white minority's control of a majority of the country's resources. That may not be entirely untrue. The legacy of apartheid still casts a dark shadow over the Rainbow Nation. There's still a lot to be done despite the efforts of black leaders since Nelson Mandela to correct the situation. That includes remedying the nation's huge income disparity. The average income for black households here is $19 a day, while average income for white households is $93 a day. But it's not just the past that continues to drag down black South Africans. Economic policies of recent governments, particularly the current one led by Jacob Zuma, have made the situation worse. Zuma's term has been dogged by accusations of mismanagement and corruption, and his decision to fire 2 finance ministers last year sent the South African rand into a downward spiral. It still hasn't recovered. It also means that in 2017, economic growth fell to 0.4% and unemployment rose to 35%. The economic situation has frustrated lower-income South Africans. Many sent a clear message by recently voting out ANC candidates for the first time since the fall of apartheid. That's had a sobering effect on the government. Soon after, it came up with a proposal for a minimum wage. It's now announced a 45% flat tax on those with incomes above $116,000 per annum. Analysts have said that the latest decisions are a start towards economic recovery for the country, but they also say much more needs to be done.
By and large, it was it is a very good budget. Of course, it has some shortcomings because part of the problem, of course, is not so much how much money we allocate, but how actually that money is spent.
Others say it's not been enough, and that the government's legislation fails to end what they say is their continuing economic apartheid. Shoaib Hassan, the Newsmakers.
Well, to discuss this, I'm joined now by Ian Ollis in Cape Town. He's the shadow Labour Minister from the Democratic Alliance Party in South Africa. That's the opposition. Ian, this minimum wage proposal, 3,500 Rand it works out to. Is it a good enough amount of money? Will it work?
Hi, the minimum wage that's been proposed in South Africa has been put together by a panel at our bargaining group called NEDLAC. As the Democratic Alliance, we feel that what is problematic about this particular proposal is not the amount, but the fact that government intends having a one-size-fits-all universal national minimum wage. We don't really feel that that is the right approach for South Africa right now, because some of our sectors are vastly different from other sectors, and you're going to find that it's going to result in job losses. In fact, the Deputy President conceded in December in Parliament that there are definitely going to be job losses when the national minimum wage is implemented. So we are proposing an alternative to that, which is to have sectoralized minimum wages instead of a one-size-fits-all national minimum wage. And what that will do is give the opportunity to have a minimum wage set for different industries or different sectors of the economy at different levels, which will then, in our view, reduce the impact and the possibility for job losses in the economy when this is introduced.
Allow me to understand this, Ian, because one of the criticisms of this plan is that South Africa doesn't have the capacity, it doesn't have the bureaucracy to monitor compliance, it just doesn't have the capability to sort of see if this will work and to follow it through. So isn't that going to be made even worse and even more difficult if you go sector by sector and you have different minimum wages for different sectors? How on earth is the country going to govern and monitor this approach?
Well, currently we have some sectoral minimum wages. There are about 14 or 15 sectors that are not currently covered, but we already have a sectoralized approach for other sectors across the economy. And it is working right now, and people have the opportunity to go and complain to the Department of Labor or the Commission for Conciliation, Mediation and Arbitration if they are not being paid those minimum wages. Simply reducing the complexity is not going to mean more inspections in the workplace. If we are not able to police the current system, we are not going to be able to police the new system, whether it is a one-size-fits-all national minimum wage or whether it is sectoralized.
A lot of people in the country, up to 42%, according to some statistics, earn less than 3,000 Rand a month. So that's much less than this current minimum wage proposal. Many people pay their maids and gardeners and others half of that amount. And I was looking also at accommodation rentals, shared student accommodation, 3,500 Rand a month. So that's that proposed minimum wage, right? That's for one bed and a shared bathroom. Would you agree with the ANC that there is a problem? 23 years on from democracy, there's a massive problem with inequality and there's a massive problem with wages in the country. Something needs to be done immediately because too many people are getting paid peanuts.
Of course, there is a massive problem with the economy. If you look at our neighbors in Southern Africa, you will see that the wages paid in Mozambique, in Zimbabwe, in Botswana, in Namibia, Angola, and so on are much, much, much lower than the wages paid in South Africa. And for that reason, we have large numbers of undocumented persons and illegal immigrants crossing into South Africa. So undoubtedly, in the southern half of Africa, there is a massive wage problem. But you're not going to fix that problem by implementing another national minimum wage. You're going to merely move sectors to a universal approach. That is not going to solve the problem. The problem is that South Africa has got 9 million, let me repeat that, 9 million unemployed people, and the economy is growing at 0.4%. Under those circumstances, it doesn't really matter at what level you set the national minimum wage. You are going to see many people remain unemployed and not a lot of new jobs created. The real problem in the economy is that it is not growing, and it is not growing because the ANC government's economic policy is not working. We need to invest in infrastructure. We need to fix the education system and the skills development system. A minimum wage is a Band-Aid on a sinking Titanic. That Band-Aid is not going to fix it.
Ian, is South Africa still existing in a form of economic apartheid?
I think we certainly have a situation in South Africa where there are many, many poor black South Africans that are unemployed and many, many living at the margins of employment. That is certainly started by the legacy of apartheid from the past. The problem that I currently have is that the current government, the ANC, has been in power since 1994. That's 22 or 23 years. And the impact that they've had on many of those people, like the 9 million unemployed, has been almost nothing. They have not helped those 9 million people to find jobs, to get involved in the economy, to be able to provide for their families. That is a significant problem. So we've got this legacy of apartheid from the former government. We've got the fact that under the current government, the education system is not delivering to the most needy in society, nor is the jobs market. It's a significant problem that needs to urgently be addressed by government.
Yet your party, the DA, can't quite get the base that the ANC can get. It can't quite get the numbers. They still get well over 50% of the vote. With that in mind, what's your plan to have a broader appeal to the masses?
Actually, I don't call 53% well over 50%. It's only 3% over 50%. Their success at the polls has been shrinking since about 2004. In the Thabo Mbeki era, they had close to 70% of the vote. In the last election, they only got 53% of the vote. That's a significant drop, and it's going to drop yet again in the 2019 national elections. And I fully expect the ANC to drop below their current 53% at local level when we have the national elections. They could very well be looking at a loss of their 50% majority at national level in the 2019 election, and that will open the space for the opposition, perhaps in a coalition, to form a new government in 2019.
Okay, Ian, good to talk to you. Ian Ollis joining us there from Cape Town.